So here we are in the leather room. I made this video a half hour ago outside where I had a much nicer backdrop, but I boogered it up. So here I am inside, back in the leather room, and well, outside with a better backdrop. That's not my happy place. Here in the leather room, it's not my happy place. Both places are my satisfied places. And satisfied is better than your happy place because satisfied lasts longer. But if you came on for a blacksmithing video, you wanted to see some forging, yeah, this is the wrong one. I'm going to be sitting here talking the whole time because, well, it's my channel and I can talk if I want to. And if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. I get aggravated about the way things are going in our society these days. And I know there are other people out there that feel the same way I do. But my hope is at some point when I'm doing some of this sitting and talking, somebody who doesn't feel the same way I do will listen and maybe learn something. So I'm not going to shy away from any hot button topic. And one of the ones that I want to talk about today is, well, the title of this video was talking about people. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to talk about people. Now, I am a white, heterosexual Christian male. I'll tell you that right up front. And if you're offended by me saying that, if you're offended by the idea that I would be so bold as to proclaim such a thing, then you can stop the video if you want to. Go watch something else. I don't care. But maybe you should listen. Because the thing is, see, one of the things that keeps being such a hot button topic, one of the words that gets thrown around so much today, one of the things that the media and politicians have used to the nth degree to drive a wedge between people is the word discrimination. Now, according to Merriam-Webster, discrimination, noun, is a prejudiced or prejudicial outlook, action, or treatment. An act, practice, or an instance of discriminating categorically rather than individually. Do you understand that definition? It means you have a prejudiced or prejudicial outlook, which means that what you have done is you have put forth a judgment before you know the fact. You have prejudged. And in this situation, not only have you prejudged in error and made a judgment much sooner than you should have, but you have made a judgment against a whole class of people rather than on an individual. And let me tell you something, that is wrong. Because people are people. People are people. If you want to go the scientific route with it, if that's your inclination, then that's fine. We'll talk about genetics. Genetically, we're all so similar as to be practically the same. If you want to talk about the religious aspects of it, well, we were all created by God in His image. Doesn't make any difference what the color of your skin is. Doesn't make any difference whether you're short, whether you're tall, whether you're fat, whether you're thin. Doesn't make any difference. You are genetically the same as everybody else. And on the religious side, you were created by God just like everybody else. So you know what? There's no difference between people. People are people. So what is it with discrimination? Why do people discriminate based on really foolish things? They'll discriminate based on somebody's appearance. Well, why should you worry about what somebody looks like? Why should you care what color their skin is? Why should it matter? Why should it matter what color their skin is if we're all the same? Skin's just an outward thing. It's the inward working that makes a man, that makes a woman, that makes us who we are. It's the inward workings. And you can't judge an entire class, an entire race, if you want to use that word. I hate the word race. There's only one race, and that's the human race. But we'll use it just for convenience sake. You can't judge an entire race by the actions of a percentage. You can't judge you can't judge me based on the fact that I'm a white man from the South, that I am absolutely against anything to do with African Americans, and I'm a Klan member, and I'm this and I'm that. Well, if that's what you think, then you're discriminating against me. Because that's not me. And not all of us from down here in the South are like that. You know what else people will discriminate on is religion, or lack thereof. You've got Christians that throw off on atheists. You've got atheists that throw off on Christians. You've got those that follow this, that throw off on everybody else. Let me tell you something. If your religion tells you to denigrate other people, if your religion tells you to belittle them because of their belief system, if your belief tells you that you should hate others based on how they choose to worship or their lack of worship, then you need to find a new religion, because the one you've got's wrong. It's that simple. Let's go back to it. What did we say? What did I say a minute ago? Genetically, we're the same. We were all created by God in His image. There's no difference in us in that. So why are you hating somebody that's the same as you are? That's kind of ignorant. Based on what they choose to worship, or how they choose to worship, or who they choose to. I don't care. I could not possibly care less. Another thing that people say they're discriminated about is gender, or they're discriminated against because of who they choose to sleep with, or who they feel led to sleep with, or who they need to sleep with. However they want to say it, however you want to say it, doesn't matter. I still think it's a choice. The reason I say that is because I choose women. I choose one woman particularly, my wife. That is something that I make a choice about. That is something that other people make a choice about. They may not choose what direction the wind blows, but you make a choice of what happens with your own body. You may not choose your emotions sometimes, because nobody does. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If you want to sleep, if you're a guy and you want to sleep with a guy, that's your business. If you're a woman, you want to sleep with a woman, that's your business. If you feel that if that's your inclination, if that's how you feel you're whole, if that's what you feel is best for you, then by all means, go right ahead. I'm not going to judge you about that. And if you're one of those people that are out there that judge others because of who they choose to associate with in that manner, let me tell you something, you're wrong. You're just plain wrong. Because whoever that other person chooses to be with is none of your business. None. And you can't go around hating them because of that kind of choice that they make. Leave it alone, man. It's not that important. Forget about it. If you want to get down to the regular old scientific thing, well, empirically, their choices don't have a darn thing to do with you. And for me, from a religious standpoint, you know what? That's none of my business. That's something they can take up with God when they meet Him. It's not my business to judge them, not my business to denigrate them, not my business to call them anything or think any way about them or do anything other than love them. So many people waste so much time being hung up on this dumb stuff. I'll tell you a story. It's a story time with Robert. I promise I won't take too much more time. When I grew up in the South. I came from a backwoods family. I grew up in a single wide mobile home. My parents both worked hard to put a roof over our head and keep the place warm in the wintertime, and they did a good job at it. Now, we didn't have fine clothes, and we didn't have fancy cars, and we didn't have a new boat sitting in the yard. But we had enough. And that was as good as a mansion, and a banquet, and a Ferrari. But growing up, I was 4 or 5 years old. My daddy had a little patch of land that one of the neighbors would come over and plow up for him. And in spring, Daddy would plant the garden there. Now that old plow turned the land over and it made these big clods of this good old North Carolina red clay. And those clods would dry out in the sun. And I'd get down there and play in the plowed field. And there was a little kid from down the street. I believe his name was James. I think his name was James. It's been a long time. He'd come play with me. And we'd spend hours down there. We'd get out there where that clod was turned over and we'd hollow out his place, or we'd find one that was already hollowed out, and we'd take little sticks and little pieces of grass, and we'd build furniture, and we'd build little fireplaces, and we'd build little chimneys coming out of them, and those were our caves. You got to understand, we were building caves for the cavemen. Didn't have a plastic dinosaur to chase the cavemen. Didn't have plastic cavemen to run from the plastic dinosaur. But we had the caves, and we had our imagination, and we had each other, and we had a dadgum good time. And you know what? James was a black kid. I didn't care. All I knew is he was James. And I'm sure he felt the same way about me. He didn't care. All he knew is I was Robbie, because that's what my mama called me, so that's what he called me. And we'd get together and spend hours down there playing. Not a care in the world. We got along great. Why can we not still do that? Why do we have to hate each other because some jackass in a political office told us we should? Why do we have to be divided along these lines because 100 years ago or 200 years ago, this other group of people did this other thing and sowed this other kind of discord that we don't have anymore? We don't have that stuff anymore. We don't need it, don't want it. Why do we have to hate each other on what God we choose to worship? Who cares? I think that's a personal choice. And somebody out there is thinking, well, then Robert, if that's the case, then you're just saying that we should love everybody, no matter who they're. No, I'm not saying you should love you should love everybody. I'm not saying that you should care for everybody the same based on the definition, because the definition says that discrimination is when you have a prejudice or when you are prejudiced or have a prejudicial outlook against an entire category of people instead of individually. What I'm telling you is, I know some people that are liberal. They are just as blue can get, and they are good people. I know some people that are gay, and I'm here to tell you, they are good people. I know some people that are absolutely as far right-wing as you can get on the conservative side, and they are good people. I know folks from every race that are good people. And every one of those folks, each one, if I found somebody taking advantage of them or trying to take their rights away from them or trying to deride them or push them down, I'd fight for them. And these folks I'm talking about, the liberals I'm talking about, the gay folks I'm talking about, the folks of other than white that I'm talking about, you know what? They'd fight for me if I needed it. Yeah. Because we don't discriminate. We don't discriminate against a whole class because of the action of an individual. Now, if you're one of those people out there that does nothing but lay on their hind end and suck up government money because you don't want to work, if you don't have a good reason not to have a job, to get out and do something beneficial, if you don't have a good reason not to take care of your kids, if you don't have a good reason not to try and better yourself as a person, if you don't have a good reason for those things and you're out trying to steal and cheat and lie and sell dope and rob folks of the things they worked hard for, and you're just doing it because you're too sorry to do anything else, then I got no use for you. You, I'll discriminate against. If you're one of those people out there that just hates other people, doesn't make no difference. It doesn't matter what they say or what they do. Just you hate them. You cannot stand them. You hate them because of the color of their skin, or you hate them because they speak Spanish, or you hate them because of who they choose to sleep with. If you're that kind of person, I got no use for you. You, I'll discriminate against. But if you're out there and you're just trying to be a regular person and make it through this world, trying to do the best you can, trying to take care of your family, trying to take care of your home, trying to find that moment's peace that we all enjoy so much, trying to find what pleasure you can in this life, just trying to be decent. If that's you, hey, I got your back. And there's a million more like me that have got your back. So don't let the jackasses in the media or the jackasses in Washington try to make you believe that everybody of a particular race or religion or particular orientation hate you. Don't let them make you believe that you're hated. These jackasses that have done this, it's because they want to divide us. They want us separate. They don't want us to be pushing together with one ideal. They don't want us pushing together with one goal. They want us divided because then they can control us more. Pitiful. So, that's my rant for tonight. Ran longer than I intended it to. I don't apologize. I know I may have sounded like I was rambling quite a bit, but hey, eat the chicken and spit out the bones. I can't even speak English myself. Eat the chicken and spit out the bones. There was some good stuff in there. I hope somebody takes something home from it. I hope somebody takes something to heart from it. I hope we can all learn together and be better people. Everybody out there from Serendipity Forge, you have a good night and God bless.